course.
For your companies, with their capital and experts in hands. So that's where the ethos starts coming in, and that's where the entire expectations were moving forward. Now, along with this, I would now not take a lot of time and invite the chairperson, Ms. Anuradha Shroff. Ms. Anuradha Shroff is a seasoned chartered accountant. She is having over 29 years of experience across multiple areas of finance, FP&A, taxation, IPOs, M&A, investor relationships, and these are with multinational companies. She has successfully led the shared services teams and partners with C-suite and contributed to IPO processes driving growth and value. A past president of Indian Women Association in Singapore, she's led impactful community programs during COVID and collaborated with Singapore government agencies. Recognized as a respected community leader, she has engaged with Singapore Law Minister and former President MDM, Madam Halima Yaacob. Currently, she is chairperson of ICAI Singapore Chapter, where we all look up to her. She's a champion in the mission of engage, empower, and enable with strong focus on women in leadership. Guided by service above self, she continues her personal growth through psychotherapy studies and public speaking. With this, I would invite Ms. Anuradha to come and share her perspective as well. Thank you. Please, Anuradha.
Thank you so much, Nikhil, for that warm introduction. A very warm good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to all the people who've taken time to join us at this session today. We are very, very excited to hear Mr. Venkatesh unpack for us pitchcraft and storytelling. So I will not take too much of time away from him and will allow the session to go on. Would just like to share a few things. This is the first time that the CA chapter, together with BeyondSeed and MSME ICAI India, we have decided and we have embarked on this journey of the next leap. It indeed is the next leap for us because we have not done something like this in the past, and we decided that we should find an opportunity for all the members, not only within Singapore but outside of Singapore as well, to find a platform where they can come to Singapore to figure out how this country functions. And this is 60 years of Singapore-India diplomatic relationship. So what better than this year to celebrate that? This, we feel, is a very good opportunity for all the people from Singapore who have come in as a cohort for this project. For them, they will learn more about interaction with Indians, Indian community. And we found so many of them talking that they do want to take their projects to India and find investors from India. Vice versa is always true. We know that our Indian cohort is always looking for investors, and Singapore is a dreamland. So again, an opportunity for them to come here. This is the 7th webinar in the series that we are doing here. And I guess that we have had around 800 to 1,000 people on a rolling basis attending each of the webinars, with maximum 300 plus at any point in time. It has been a huge encouragement for us. The MSME team in India, led by Mr. Gyan Mishra, has definitely given us a lot of support. We got a good support from Mr. Charanjot Singh Nandaji, who is the president of ICAI India, who has blessed us to go ahead with this program. And nonetheless, the hard-working team of ICAI Singapore Chapter, trust me, we are burning the day, doing our day jobs, and we are burning the midnight oil to see that we do a good job, bringing out all wonderful speakers and all wonderful mentors to the cohort and all of us. So without taking more time, I would say we are really looking forward to 20th of November as the demo day, when we will take to the next steps. But for today, eagerly waiting for Mr. Venkatesh to unpack pitchcraft and storytelling. Thank you, Mr. Venkatesh. Thank you, Nikhil. And thank you, my Singapore and BeyondSeed team, for your excellent work. welcome all the guests for the day. Over to you, Nikhil. Nikhil, you're on mute.
Thank you, Anu, for sharing those details. And of course, we're all looking forward to the D-Day, where everyone would be gunning for having that particular spot. But before that, I would like to invite Suraj Doshi from BeyondSeed. He leads the investment team at BeyondSeed, an early stage venture capital fund. With over 7 years of experience spanning early stage investing, investment banking, and financial planning, Suraj brings a strong analytical lens and deep ecosystem understanding onto the table. Before joining BeyondSeed, Suraj was part of the investment banking team at KPMG India, where he worked on M&A and fundraising transactions. A qualified chartered accountant and a graduate of Narsee Monjee College of Commerce and Economics, he combines financial rigor with passion for startups. Suraj enjoys engaging with founders, co-investors, and partners to unlock meaningful growth. Outside of work, he's a former child actor and an avid fitness enthusiast. Suraj, we would like to see your acting skills, but today would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikhil. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for this. Always thankful to our alma mater, the ICAI. A quick introduction about myself. As Nikhil said, I'm part of BeyondSeed, leading the investment team. A quick introduction about BeyondSeed. As we all know, we are an early stage sector agnostic venture capital platform headquartered in Singapore with offices in Mumbai and Dubai. The investment team largely sits out of the office in Mumbai. At BeyondSeed, our ethos is not just to invest in early stage startups, but also help startups and early stage founders at their nascent stage of their journey. Through expert guidance, mentorship, subject matter experts coming together with our entire team to help them grow from seed to Series A. So that's our ethos. For this, we have dedicated growth engines such as Beyond Marketing, Beyond Influence, Beyond Services, Beyond Governance, and Beyond Capital. So the entire army together comes not just to invest money into a startup, but also help founders grow at an early stage at a quicker rate. As to give an example, for a coffee brand, we've onboarded ex-CEO of Starbucks India to help them guide through their journey. Similarly, for a pet food company, we've made sure that there's a right mentor who's a pet care expert come together and help the startup grow at a quick pace. So that's our broader thesis. Would love to engage with any of you. Happy to partner in case you want to invest with us. Feel free to reach out to us. In case you are a founder having some questions around how to raise your first funds, more than happy to mentor you and help you around that. So that's more or less about us. Would love to engage further. Thanks a lot, Nikhil. Over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Of course, there's a lot of passion that comes in, right? I mean, these are interesting scenarios, but at the same time, once you have these passion attached, and that again brings me to the perspective that when you have these stories, when you have the craft that comes in, there is an inherent thing which starts becoming much more interesting, and that's where the entire passion, the tireless hours which are given by all these founders, right? So that starts coming in, and that starts creating the difference in terms of the enjoyment. So that's where I would say that let's not get too much along from these perspectives, but then now it's time to get onto the core topic. And at the same time, I would have the honor of introducing Mr. V.S. Venkatesh. Thank you for joining us today evening, sir. Mr. V.S. Venkatesh is a seasoned professional with 4 decades of remarkable experience and an accolade healthcare professional. He is currently the MD and co-founder of Zentor Medtech Volta Healthcare, strategic advisor and director for Mindsmith India and World Bank. Mr. Venkatesh has become an expert in deciphering the dynamics of whatever he does. A multifaceted professional expertise where he was awarded Emerging CEO of the year 2015, and CEO of the Year in 2017. His academia is demarcated as trained by Harvard Business School and Wharton on leadership and strategy. As a brilliant strategist and business connoisseur with a 360-degree healthcare exposure, he has effectively turned around multiple P&L businesses through large team in healthcare, pharma, hospitals, clinics, health tech, and medtech. He has also taken company to MSME IPO listings, and he has been guiding multiple of such scenarios through his strategic input and his experience. Once again, thank you for joining us, sir, and we really look forward for your wisdom and your insights for this session. Over to you for the details.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nikhil. And you have been very kind and generous with your words. But then I hope I have just worked my way and been there, done it. And as it says that sometimes you have to be there at the right time, right place to click, and then or rather you should keep on jumping, and you do not know when the opportunity comes. So you should be constantly be jumping. So I have been doing that all along. And it's really a pleasure and an honor for me to be engaged with you, to be a part of NextLeap and BeyondSeed thing. I will just take some time to share my screen so that we can get going. But I
Yes, sure, please.
think there is a little bit of challenge for me. I do not know. Okay, just a minute. And
We can see the presentation, sir.
I can go into the full screen. Is the screen visible to you fully?
No, it's still on the PPT mode.
Still on the PPT mode, okay.
Sir, I think you would need to go to presentation mode first and then start sharing screen so that the full screen sharing can be, that particular window can be shared.
Okay, presentation mode first. Okay, then directly the full screen, right? Okay.
Correct.
Right. So I'll stop sharing this first. Then is this it? No, I don't know why I'm seeing.
We can get going with this. You can just drag the. We can be in the PPT form also if it is okay with you. It's visible. Yeah, no, that's okay, sir. You can keep it a little smaller because then the rest of the slides will not be there.
Okay, now I got it, I think.
Yes, this is fine.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, good. So finally, I learned something new today, I believe. Great. So, having said that, I've been a professional all along, being working throughout in the field, and then I thought, let me move into the second innings of my career, and that is thanks to COVID, of course, and then that is when the entire change happened, wherein we got more accustomed to talking to people and on the screen, and then trying to understand different people, where they are and what they are. And that's the journey when I started with Zentor Medtech. And Zentor Medtech came in wherein I started first as for raising funds for them. And before the founder said that, please join me as a co-founder and so on. So that's it. Now, during that journey, I went on presenting my product to the people, the trying to touch base with the investors, trying to see how I can get going and try to raise funds for Zentor Medtech. Uh, Being from the product management side in the farm, I was always fascinated by the fact that I must give something creative. And I used to have a very good boss who would never be satisfied with whatever story we bring. In those olden days, we had those flip charts, which we would create some nice stories to catch the attention of the doctor. Now, the doctor's attention span was hardly 2 minutes or 3 minutes he would give to us. And who knew that karma is one such thing that he brings back you to the full circle? That when I started pitching to the investors, they also did not give me more than 3 minutes. They said that no, no, fast, we need to complete it within 3 minutes or 2 minutes or even 1 minute. That was one of the things. Now, that is where, once again, we try to put our whole thing focus in what we have to do and catch the attention and so on and so forth. And this. During the days, I also, when I started mentoring a lot of startups and students in various colleges, I did come across the fact that, yes, they lacked something. And the fact is that of how do you present your product to others. Some of them were brilliant founders whom I found, and they had the product which was really sizzling hot. And but then, unfortunately, what they made and how they presented, they could not catch the attention of the people. So here is something for all those aspiring founders, as well as people who would want to get into the whole thing of how do you present your product, what are the things which goes, what are the ingredients of the wonderful dish which you want to present to the investor, such that the investor laps up your dish faster than the others. So two things stand out, and one is the pitchcraft, and another is a component of pitchcraft, and that is storytelling. As we know that one of the subset of pitchcraft is storytelling, and as we know very well that when you present something, this has to get into the minds of the people, such that they go and write the check. That is one of the main goal of whatever we are talking, whatever we do, and so on and so forth. What I'm trying to talk, or what I'm going to present here, is no rocket science. As you can see from most of the visuals, they are picked up from the Google. So therefore, you would know that the subject is very much talked about. What I am going to present is basically a rehash of the same thing. I am going to present my perspective, my experiences, and it will become more interesting if I am able to get some questions on this. And this would not necessarily be questions, but this will be sharing of your perspectives, because I'm sure you must have gone through a lot of things. A lot of you are chartered accountants. A lot of you are from the investor community. And so you would have also seen some of the presentations. And so you would have a perspective on what you would do. So I'll just start with the roadmap, a quick overview of the three modules, which I have interspersed in each of them. One is the storytelling, which is mastering the art of storytelling. The pitchcraft, which is the more important thing. And finally, the action for any of the founders or most of the founders who are here. Coming to the fact that this is two sets of audience, and so therefore it's very, very evident that before you tell, or when you tell something, what is going to happen, and after you tell the story in a very artful manner, how is going to be the response. So therefore, this is the response on the right hand side which you would want from your people. So storytelling starts with basically it's a thing which has to appeal to the senses of people, right? So there is nothing different from what we do. So even when we have been, and I'm sure all of you are from the ages in your colleges and all, you would have always wanted and had been vying for the attention of the people. So there, then the friends who were there and different types of friends who were there, but you wanted to get through to one of such group, and so therefore you would appeal to their senses in a manner which they would be able to be reciprocative of what your overtures are, right? So you need to appeal to that. You need to create the characters in it, and these characters, whenever you are telling a story, they need not necessarily be human. If you are including and your story is to do something with the people, then please ensure that you talk to the people and you talk with the people who are there in this thing. Now that will help you to make it more humanize the entire factor. The other aspect is connect to the world of your audience, because unless and until you connect to what you are saying, then you will be on the left hand side. Your audience will be sleeping over what this thing. To your story, every story needs a number. And so therefore put your numbers on a human scale. The human scale number is very simple in the sense that it should be relative to that. While we were in our student days pressurized to memorize the algebraic algorithms and saying a plus b plus c plus is equal to 2a, b, c and something like that. But here, if you do that here, you will not be able to reach to the same. So use the numbers on a human scale. And what I mean by that, I will also illustrate with one example. Use analogies, comparisons, and metaphors profusely so that there would be a situation wherein you would be in a position to get the people to understand what you are saying through a visual this thing. Right? Someone has said this, that stories are 22 times more memorable than facts. While it is true, from the neurological perspectives, we know that the human brain is wired for narratives. We have been we have grown up from the times when our grandmother used to tell us stories, when our parents used to tell us stories, and we were always built on these stories. So stories makes the information 22 times more memorable than facts alone. Simply speaking, just an example, a list of dry facts about the company versus a short story about the founder's initial struggle will take a long way in ensuring that you build a bond and a connection and understanding that, yes, there is some meat in what you're talking. For example, for some of you who would be knowing in the pharma industry, I come from the pharma industry, so I have lived on the stories of the founders of my previous company, that is IA Modi and Ramanbhai Patel from Zydus as well as Cadila Pharma. The story goes very short, and in the reception also there is one cycle lying there. The story goes that in the early days, our founders used to go from Manek Chowk to the railway station, and where the maximum hospitals were there, and they used to carry the medicines into it. Now, those are the stories which builds a little bit of impression, a little bit of interest, and also from the fact that, yes, every human has gone through a struggle individually also. So we believe we relate to it more and say that, yes, I am also struggling, so my day will come. And so therefore, these stories telling and the weaving the story in their narrative becomes a very important thing. And the other thing is that this is the scientific explanation of the how a storytelling affects the brain, right? It's a cortical activity. It is a very scientific thing, right? You have in your story, you should have anger, you will have a fight and a flight, wherein immediately the dopamine gets released. And then there is the hero comes in once he fights and once he gains control over the enemy or the villain, then there is that relief where the cortisols are released. So that relief function is also there. And then when everything goes around, and then the happy hormones, which is the oxytocin, that gets released. So therefore, in the entire storytelling, you are also going scientifically to ensure that you are addressing all the issues wherein a human reaction is distinctly possible. So therefore, mirroring is possible, coupling is possible. The activities, the hormonal activities, which builds the person's entire internal framework and the persona which he is able to grab is at play. And this is so therefore the interesting thing. So therefore, it is essential that you do go the way of storytelling, because without storytelling, there is all this jumble and other things which you will find, because a linear recount of events nobody is bothered about. But the same thing, if you communicate artfully, they tend to evoke an emotional response and it conveys a meaning. Simple thing, phone book. Nowadays, nobody does it, but then in your directory also you don't see much. But then when you go through the Instagram and when you scroll, you get that. So therefore, this is where the story actually builds up. Right. So very simple, keep the narrative structure in such a manner that you are able to go through the what we call it as the story mountain. The story mountain believes that there is an opening, there is a build up, there is a dilemma, and then there is a resolution, and then there is finally the closing part of it. So review the basic narrative arc, right? The hero's journey has to be adapted for business because every story has to have a hero. Then create some inciting incidents, inciting conflicts which arises out of that. Now, these could be how your product went through, how the person actually faced a problem himself or saw the problem with somebody and then they did it, and how it was at conflict with what was available in the ecosystem, and so therefore how you overcame that, and third, how you built a workaround, and then you create the climax and solution. So from that perspective, it is essential that you create the narrative arc. You create the protagonist there. Make the product or your business or your solution as the hero, right? Uh, you're not the hero of the story. Remember that. Your customer is the hero. You are a mentor or a guide. Take it like that. Don't be self-centered and go into one such this thing saying that we developed a super fast chip. So that's a simple storytelling, but then you are putting everything on yourself and saying that, yes, I did this. Instead of that, focus on the customer, because the investors who are gathered there, they are constantly looking at, if I put my money in this particular business, will there be customers who will bring money business to this company? So a simple thing, a small business, the customer centric story would be a small business owner was drowning in slow transaction. So the hero's pain has to come out. So we created a chip that let her save 2 hours of a day. And now that interests. So you have here the whole thing of all the dopamine as well as the finally the relaxation, the oxytocin coming in. And the moment you say let her save, so the here it's not the hero, it's actually the heroine. So therefore it is much more pleasurable for someone to hear it. Create some conflict, because without conflict there is no story. Define what is at stake, and if the problem is not solved financially, emotionally, or practically, what happens? Simply, if we don't fix this data redundancy issue, the office printer might start printing nothing but pictures of goats. It is a risk we cannot take. And the moment you put that fear in mind, the dopamine starts working. They say, oh, what happens, what to do, and so on and so forth. And then, do you have a solution for this? Yes, we have a solution. And that's how the conflict, which is the king, that gets into the focus, brings your product into focus, brings the thing into mind. Now inject something like an emotion, right? A good story uses all the three. There's the logos, which is logic, emotions, and ethos, which is credibility and trust. Now, these three are very, very important from any perspective, whether it is your storytelling or whether in real life, whether you are communicating with somebody or whether you are trying to build a brand logo. Ensure that you are able to address as many of these three or all the three if possible, right? So logic and data, credibility and trust, emotion, relatability are three very, very important factors which touches the human mind. Right. Now let's take a small example for a non-profit pitch NGO using, which is for let's say something like what we have is the Akshay Patra Foundation, which is feeding lots of poor people as well as children for their midday meal scheme and so on. So here your logo is the statistics on hunger. Create that aspect and bring that to fore. The founder's background as to what they do, how they have been able to manage other this thing, or how you're planning to do this. And then finally, the picture of one child, which gets helped when the happy child eating a morsel of food and creating that oxytocin response of a happy feeling that yes, this particular organization does midday meals or does feed the child at night, and he doesn't have to go hungry. So these are the factors which you should be able to put in. Now, another example I just tried to play around with, I baked the cake, it was okay, then I ate it. Then I said that, okay, let me ask the present day storyteller or problem solver like the chat GPT. So I asked him to explain and tell a story on this. And this is what I got. The oven timer screamed, a high-pitched siren of anxiety. I watched heart pounding as the cake rose, a monument to my grandmother's secret recipe, only for my cat to try and taste and test the icing mid cooling. Now, this was chaotic. I didn't understand for whom the cake was made, but then they said, but alas, a delicious chaos. For whom? Again, once again, a question mark. Then, yes, ChatGPT will help you to some extent. The other things you will have to also build it up. Add a dash of humor because humor in storytelling brings that surprise and relief fact. Humor breaks the tension, creates connection, and makes you seem human. Use it to highlight any absurdity in your problem. And ultimately, when we are working on it, you are solving a human problem. You are solving a problem which is faced by the human. So therefore, that solution also has to narrate with you some of the things which are embedded in it. Storytelling also requires data, right? So, data should support your narrative. It should not overwhelm it. Frame your statistics again as a mini story, right? So instead of just saying EBITDA increased by 45%, try to say if you can view in quarter three, we moved the needle so much that the graph looked like a mountain climber celebrating at the summit, a 45% climb in EBITDA. Now, this small nuances, this small change in your communication, change in the semantics which you use, right, creates a great degree of impression on the investor. And so therefore, you may perhaps find a better success there. Having said all these things, let me put a small twist in the tail, right? There is a contrarian point also, but you need to work around and you should not throw this whole thing because what I tell you, try to see that how you are able to put and work towards this. Uh, the problems associated with storytelling narrative embedded in the pitch deck many a times, because sometimes they say that put messed around 15 slides or so, right? You may be more interested in putting in the pictures of the founders. You may be interested in putting the Excel chart, the projections, the market data, the TAM, SAM, SOM, SHUM, and all those things. And then you will say, okay, what do I have? How do I get this thing? No, it is true. All these things are essential, and life is not so easy. Not able to put this thing together, don't try it. That is one very simple thing. So a few points which I can just mention here is that engaging stories can take time to unfold, which may lead to exceeding the allotted time for the pitch. And this can frustrate the audience and detract from key points that maybe need to be communicated. Sometimes the story is too elaborate or tangential and can lead the audience away from the main message, or the objective of the pitch may get obscured. Relying heavily on emotional storytelling can sometimes overshadow logical arguments. So the audience may feel manipulated if you tell so much on this thing. Because I just as an example, during one of my company, which is Mindsmith, when we were talking, right? One of the founders went so deep into their own problems which they faced, which was the result of how they built this Mindsmith, that finally the audience started, and even I started feeling, oh my God, why this sob story so much? So therefore, it is very essential that you should not, you should be very concise and crisp in what you say. Right. Different audiences have different preferences, so there could be a disalignment with the audience. And if the story isn't well integrated into the overall pitch, it can create inconsistencies in messaging. Stories can be sometimes inadvertently include cultural references. Now, this can lead to misunderstandings or even offend certain individuals. Relying on common storytelling cliches can make the pitch feel unoriginal and predictable. For example, a lot of people who come for the pitch competitions or the pitch sessions, etc., they quote Airbnb, they quote Uber, they quote Zomato, and they quote some of the instances of Paytm. So sometimes people feel that, okay, yeah, I know what you're going to talk about. So therefore, it is essential that you should not use the cliches so much. Though in my this thing also I have put one or two instances of the same thing, so that for clarity's sake, you will know that, okay, beyond this, there is nothing which has to be put in. Right. There is a potential for misinterpretation. Stories are subjective. Different people might interpret them in various ways and can lead to misunderstanding. And finally, if the pitch starts with a serious business discussion and suddenly shifts to an anecdote, because most of the time it happens that suddenly you remember, oh, that was a story which I had to tell, and then you go back to that. Now that creates a perception gap about the seriousness of whatever the person is talking, if the person is not able to handle the whole thing correctly. So much so about storytelling and weaving the story into your pitch deck, and how you have to present that whole thing. Now let's talk a little bit on the pitch itself, because we must also understand that a successful fundraise is a multi-layered campaign, and the pitch deck is just one piece of evidence of that. Right. Many people have said, and nowadays there are a lot of organizations, companies, and advisors, as well as mentors and coaches, who say that we prepare the pitch and we charge so much, and then our pitches have raised so many $1 million, etc., and so on. I would advise you to take it with a little bit of pickle or a sauce, whichever is your favorite side kick. That yes, while it is true, and it is true, that a good, well-crafted pitch will definitely get you attention. But then it is not necessarily that you have to spend a lot of money on that. Your own imagination, creativity, going through some of the basics which I have already told, is well sufficient to catch the attention of the people. Because what is important at there is that your problem and the solution which you are solving, which you are giving, should be impactful. That means your product has to be good. If your product is not meeting the requirement, or which is not catching the attention of the people, no amount of how sexy you make your pitch deck, it is not going to get you even 1 rupee of that. What the founders look for, or the investors look for, very simply, whether your problem is relatable, whether your problem which you have spoken about and the solution which you are giving is sufficient enough to get a good impact, and whether it will get more customers, and more importantly, paying customers, not those freemium customers. Once they are assured of this, then if you are able to put it, then the process will be faster and smoother. So the pitch craft should have this: the problem, solution, impact are. The foundation structure of almost every successful pitch is this: the pain point, and what is it that you are addressing, and what is it that you are giving, and how that solution will transform the future. Simple and plain. Example, Uber's thing. And see, I have come to the same thing. So taxis were a pain to hail and unreliable. You ask them whether you are coming to Gandhinagar, they will say, no, I'm going to Modi Nagar. So therefore, that is the end of the story. Most of the auto drivers do, most of the taxi drivers used to do that. I'm not sure if Modi was there at that time, our Modi here. But Modi Nagar definitely was. But when the our ride hail came, you just had to tap a button and the car showed up and everyone became a rider. So capture attention quickly. This is very, very essential whenever you put the pitch. And that is how your story has to also be reflective of this. And that is why we say that if you have something which catches the attention, then you have one half the audience thing. Because the other thing is that whenever you go into any pitch session or you talk to any of the business analysts and so on, because anyway, you will not meet the investors immediately. So the first gatekeepers will be your brilliant young minds, Gen Z guys, MBAs from hotshot colleges, Ivy League colleges, etc. And they are constantly busy. They are very busy. And they are just trying to say that I don't have time, just tell me fast. So you have 30 seconds to go to make a good impression. So an effective pitch needs an immediate hook, not a monologue. It's an invitation to get the person to start talking. And you should be prepared with any quantum of time which you are allowed. Most of the times when anybody goes for any of these things in the thing, you are told that you got 20 minutes to present and 10 minutes presentation, 10 minutes question answer session. Then when you have landed in the corridor of the place where you are, they say that, okay, it is 5 minutes and 3 minutes question answer. And just when you are about to hit the start button, you say 3 minutes and 1 minute for questions. And then you're stuck because your mind gets into the 10 minutes to 5 minutes and 3 minutes, and then you don't know what to say. And you do not know which points to say. So therefore, it is very essential that you prepare an elevator pitch so that when you can get into an elevator. Now, this whole elevator thing came in. I remember in my early days when the movie Abadi story had come in, right? At that time, this journalist has been going behind these band people from one country to another, one city to another, but not able to get any interview. Finally, towards the end, then he is able to get into a lift and then he sees these four people and he is so awestruck, he's not able to ask any question. But then he regains his composure. So therefore, that is how perhaps the elevator pitch came into existence. Start with the important thing, right? As I told you that what does your problem do? So Simon Sinek says that start with the why, right? Why do you do what you do and what is the purpose? Or how do you do what you do and what do you do and so on and so forth. So the most important point is why. Everybody would like to ask why. Why this product? Why you? Why not anybody else? And finally, why me? Right? If you are able to get the attention, get this as a memory hook for the people, then your job is done. In my school days, it used to happen that we had to answer the 7 donkeys. The example given was 7 donkeys. Why, when, where, what, which, how, and so on and so forth. Now, once you master the 7 donkeys questions, then you are a genius. So that's how it is. So the hook, starting with why, don't start with what you do, but start with why it matters or what is the common pain point, right? Just one example. This particular company, we are a secure lock and enterprise encryption software provider. But catch the attention, to catch the thing in a manner, right? It would be good if you say, how many of you had ever a private vacation photos accidentally shared with your boss? Gone, right? Especially if it is your boss's wife, right? So that's the kind of the problem we solve. Now, once you are able to communicate this particular thing in a humorous way or in any way which you would be able to catch the attention, then your secure lock is done for life. Different types of hooks: strong claim, questions, statistics, facts, jokes, quotes, your story, stylistic devices. You can use any of them. The important thing, you have to amplify the pain. And that's what I would go back to that slide. That is the dopamine slide. That is creating that fear, fight and flight situation. So you have to amplify the flame. Use vivid language and statistics to make the problem feel real and urgent. Quantify the crisis. Use numbers that are relatable. $20 million loss. I am not able to figure out $2 million into how many rupees when I am raising funds. And instead of that, just say that enough to pay 50 people's salaries for 1 year to feed their family. Now that brings in all the emotions which is required, which goes with this. Emphasize your solution. Create that aha moment, right? Present your product, service as inevitable and the only logical answer to the problem you just presented. Keep it concise, make it a magical moment so that this lady says, aha, that's how your solution has to appear to everybody, every investor, you say. Back it up with proof and traction, because credibility check is very important. Back up your claims with data, testimonials, real user stories. Social proof is critical. And if you have some paying customers, that is the best. But some of those who are in who are early stage, who have not yet gone into this thing or pre-revenue stage, ensure that there is a social proof. There is a proof of the person. Like in healthcare, we go to the doctors and try to get as many doctors to validate our story before we are able to put it to the investors. So then we know we have the backing of the real users. The investors know that they have people who are willing to buy subsequently. Show, don't tell. That be very specific. Abstract language is boring. Specific details are memorable. Use names, dates, sensory descriptions. That is the story which I told you, right? For example, the software made things faster. This is one way of telling it. But if you show that after implementing the product velocity, Sarah or Janki Devi, the lead accountant, reduced her monthly reporting time from 40 hours to 4 hours, allowing her to finally have a dinner with her kids or go shopping. But be very careful if you are stuck with some people like your boss is there, then moment he knows that, okay, you have been able to compress it to 4 hours. Now here is another 40 hours work. So that thing is also there. Just a joke. A good point and a not so good point of Airbnb. Now I come back to my own cliched thing. So Brian and Joe needed money to pay rent. That was their pain point. And they realized that they had a place and they were facing the same pain which many others faced, but they had unused assets. So they created a website for temporary room rentals. It didn't work. But they created a second story which said we couldn't pay our rent. So we rented out our air mattresses during a sold out conference in Bharat Mandapam or near that. And we discovered that millions of people worldwide have spare space and need extra income. Now that relatability came to many people. And so therefore they got into the business, and you know what the success story of Airbnb is. So the other important point is finding while you can create a good story, you can create a good pitch deck and bring out all the factors of your problems, the problems which you are solving. You must also understand that the one major hurdle, the last hurdle which is there, is to get an investor founder fit. I call it more a marriage, not a transition, right? Though at any point of time, like this marriage, it can go into a divorce also. That is okay. But then if you have crossed the 10 years, then you have done it, right? So you're not pitching to a faceless firm. You're pitching to a partner, a human being who will be tied to your success or failure for the next 7 years or the lifetime of the fund. So your deck is a proposal. The relationship is the contract. And successful founders research the investors more than what they do. And they try to find, and nowadays it's very easy to find the background. You have LinkedIn, you got the Instagram, Facebook, and others, wherein your past investments, shared hobby, deeply held belief about the industry or about the social context, etc., is very easily graspable. So ensure that your journey starts long before you hit the pitch deck send button. Fundraising success is often a consequence of months of groundwork. Believe me, it has taken me years, right? At least 4 years in the making, just to make a few presentations here and there. Drip action, drip irrigation. Ensure that you build relationship first, understand first, keep sending the message, because if you just jump to someone and say that, okay, I want funding, nobody is going to give you. It is like asking someone walking on the road, hey, can you give me 10 rupees? No, right? Especially if you are nicely dressed and suited and booted, right? So the outcome should be that the actual pitch happens when the investor already feels like a partial insider. They are intellectually and emotionally primed with what your product does. So what I used to do is I used to first send a general thing on what the industry is all about. So let's say, for example, the skin cancer product which we are dealing with, I first sent around 5-6 posts and podcasts on skin cancer, different skin cancers, etc., etc. And then finally we worked on the solutions, and then finally I said this thing. So much so that when we finally said that we are coming with one of the first non-invasive path-breaking skin cancer screening and diagnostics, everybody was awake. He said, what is this non-invasive? Because everybody has heard only of biopsy. So therefore, but when the investors actually went through my whole this one, they said that, yeah, I know what you are talking about, right? So the seed round, so an example is a founder should send the VC a monthly email, right? I would send a WhatsApp and a LinkedIn message. And what he learned about the market, I have already told you this. So therefore, the whole thing should be that when you are sitting in front of the investor, he should say that I have been watching this for quite some time. So let's talk about the churn issue you mentioned, or the problem you mentioned in terms of sourcing this, etc., and how you can overcome and so on. So then the pitch deck becomes a formality. And it's not a discovery that, okay, suddenly you are telling and the person says, I'll go back, read, study, and we have to have something like that. So practice your pitch. Pitch practice makes you perfect. Twitter length pitch, 280 characters. Earlier it was 140, now it is 280. So times are changing. So once you are able to do this, as I told you, you would be able to then either expand, because you can always expand. We have been experts at that, right? Work expands to fill the time. So we know how to expand the things. So, but then be ready with the core of what you are able to, what you have to say. Make a checklist. Ensure that the key takeaways are there: emotion, brevity, clarity, call to action, everything. And one core message which I would like to give you is that ensure that whether your audience can repeat the main point of your pitch back to you in one sentence. Right. Now, I tried this funny thing once when I went into one of the pitch sessions wherein my company starts with Zentor Medtech. Name is Zentor, and so therefore Z is the last alphabet. So therefore, I was the last. So out of 45 people, mine was the last. It started with a 20-minute pitch for somebody, and I was sitting there. To mine, which was just 1 minute, where only 4 people were sitting. Luckily, those 4 people had come back from tea break, and so that's how it was. So then I said, okay, 1 minute. They wanted just 1 minute. I just went on talking, running the slide, and said that Dharma eye non-invasive skin cancer diagnostic, Dharma eye non-invasive. I kept on repeating the same thing, and then I left it. And then I said, okay, over. And then one of the people said that, okay, what is this guy who is doing? So they started asking me questions. So one question led to another, one question led to the answer led to another question, the answer. So finally, I took around 8 to 9 minutes of the entire audience. And then I asked them that, tell me what I am doing. And happily and luckily, two of them, they did come back with what I was telling, and they got the pitch sentence right. Two persons, they were very busy trying to think of what the next pitch session would be all about. Right. Be very clear in what you need and be very crystal clear in communicating it, whether it's an investment, partnership, simple meeting, whatever it is. In a one line, if you can say we are raising $500,000 to scale marketing, with this we project a 5x growth in the next 18 months. Ready to join us? Then your job is done, right? You have communicated that. So your story starts now. Reiterate every conversation in a pitch, which we have just discussed. Use the tools which I have mentioned, but there are many which you can find in any good library, or the WhatsApp University is always there to help you, right? Ensure that there is a compelling narrative around yourself, your idea, and your company. A pitch is simply a great story told to the right person at the right time. Because hope sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible. Only those who can see the invisible can do the impossible. And luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So if you leave today, to all those founders who would be there, and to all the students who are there, I have invited a few of them. I don't know if they have joined, right? If you leave today with only some updated slides, you have missed the point. Prepare a 90 days plan, right? Your next 90 days, your mission is to elevate your pitch by focusing on rewriting your original story, articulating the pain point, using all the components of the human brain to ensure that you are able to get the fear and the flight and the fight. You are able to create the relaxing hormone as well as the happy hormone, right? Make it vivid, emotional, 1-minute anecdote. Focus on why you, and ensure that why you map your targets. Don't pitch to everybody. Select a few top 10 or 20 or whatever, excuse me, right? Start by seeding the people with stories about what you are doing, what is required to be done, and then finally present your solution to them if they request. Don't jump with the money aspect immediately, because your pitch deck is the blueprint of your building. Your storytelling is the architecture, but the money comes from trust, shared vision, and the relationship which you build before the groundbreaking ceremony, right? So thank you. Let's go build something massive. I'm open to any questions if you would like to have, and I would like to get and hear from the perspectives of some of you who would have faced similar situations from what I have, and would like to learn from you. And I may not have all the answers. And so therefore, let's talk. I stop sharing my
Fantastic.
screen.
I think, of course, you shared a picture of the movie hall at the beginning of the presentation, right? People were bored on the one side, and then they were laughing on the other side. I think people are awestruck right now. I would say amazing presentation, sir. That opened a lot of thoughts, because there are I call these as five sisters and three brothers kind of things: who, what, why, where, how, and then which, where, wonder. So these are interesting things, of course. But then when we start using these in our practical places, how do we narrate the entire thing? Amazing, amazing. Thanks a lot for sharing this. But we will, shall we open? Do we have any questions? We do have some on the on the group as well. Please raise your hands. We can take some time. Ayush, Anush, we can take some time for taking questions. Do we have?
Yes, we have a few questions. I can see a few in the chat. Max, how many slides for the pitch deck?
Well, Many people say it should be 13 to 15 slides, but then but then when you go with people like me, I usually prepare a 30 to 40 slides and then try to compress and make it more visual. What is very important, what is important is that if you are able to create and bring the visual aspect of this thing, because a picture tells a thousand words. That is what we know. So therefore, if you are able to bring a good, compelling picture which matches your title or the theme of your story, I think you would have communicated. So then afterwards, people just get engrossed in it and they understand what you're telling. So from that perspective, yes, the standard is 15. As what they say, but then even people, if you are able to keep them engrossed, even 20, 30. And it also depends on the industry category. So if you are talking about some very technical product, like we talk about in the ophthalmology segment and in the cancer segment, we have to explain a lot of things to the people, because most of the investors are not savvy in the medical thing. So therefore, we have to tell, but they cannot use medical jargons or the terms. So therefore, we have to wear it down. We have to struggle, and we have to ensure that we are able to communicate in a common layman's language. So there is no hard and fast rule as such, but then yes, something which you should be able to finish within 5 minutes. People say 3 minutes, but yes, 5 minutes is what you normally get.
Sure. I think there was another question which
Yeah,
you
there is
answered
one which
already.
is what should be the shortest and longest version of pitch?
The shortest is 1 minute, as I told you, right? Because and especially depending on with what alphabet your company starts. So that is one. Mine starts it with Z, so Zentor, mine last. So it's 20-minute pitch time given. Finally ended up with 1 minute to be told. And I said, why do I even go to the stage? But then it stretched. So therefore, it all depends on that. But you have to be ready. You should be able to concise as well as expand. So that is your skill. So have bullet points of what your product is, and go by that sequence as to, and the simple thing, why your product, what problem it solves, and what is the solution which you are giving, and what will the people feel. And the most important thing, don't forget to put the ask, that how much you are asking and what you are asking for. And if you are able to communicate that clearly, the first point is understood, the last point is understood. In between is all chaff.
Right.
Thank you for answering that.
And there was one question, can we get the PPT, please?
Yeah, we'll look at
Be
Yeah,
that.
my
we'll
guest. I leave it to the organizers. If they want,
sure,
they
sure.
can.
Yeah. We'll
Any
circulate to
questions, please either
members.
raise your hand or type it in the chat window. We'll be able to pick that up.
Yeah. But with a disclaimer that I may not be held for any copyright violations, though it is taken from Google open source. So, but then there is nothing there, which is
Cool. So there is one question which has come. Unit economics seems to be common question in such pitches. How does one present it?
yeah. See, the most important thing which any investor for whatever worth, and even you for that matter, why you are in this business, why you start, why you do a startup, and why is for primarily that you want to get some profit. Your business has to be profitable. So if your business has to be profitable, then you will always be working and your focus should be. Though I have seen many people who have no idea of where the profitability would come from, and especially the big giants who have gone public also, they had no profitability in sight whenever they were talking, but then they had a very strong, compelling case of users who would be joining, and it has proved them right. Example, I'm talking about Paytm or Zomato or any of these. It has proved them right, and so what they did in retrospect seems right. But all of us will not be that lucky. We will have to ensure that we are communicating that what does our first of all, what does our product do, whom, etc., etc. And the important point is who is going going to buy our product and whether they are willing to buy a product and whether it is backed by that. Then the profitability issue comes up as to whether you have done your homework. If it is there, you are manufacturing at a particular cost, or your other service costs are there, your manpower cost is, etc. All those put together, whether in a time period of 3 to 5 years, if you are able to recover, recoup, and then finally make some profit out of that, then there is a great chance, and that is what you may have to work on. So it is very important from that aspect that this unit economic slide has to be. I have not put those slides or any explained anything on those because they are not a part of your storytelling or the thing. They are there. For example, the founder's background, that is very standard. You cannot, unless you tell a story about yourself, if people listen to you, then your projections which you are going to give, the market which you are going to address. Now that is one thing. Now those are the numbers which you have to tell in a form of a story if you are able to tell, but those are the slides. So I have not addressed those issues. So, but this issue is very important. If you are able to convince that that last slide which I talked about, that I call that what do you need? That I need $5 million for giving a 5x return in 18 months to be put in marketing. Now, if you are able to communicate that clearly, then your job is done.
Sure. So thanks for answering that. We have the next one from Ritesh Suri. He's asking, how do you build relationships with investors if you only have 5 minutes to pitch without any previous chance to communicate?
Well, now this is really it's a good question, and it's a pain point for most founders because you really do not know where to latch on to. But then you have to be there at the right place, right time, and right this thing. So that is one thing. But then you cannot solely depend on luck. Because after all, luck is very important. You must have read Ulrich and Jack Prout. He gives a whole lot of 21 marketing principles, and the last chapter is on luck. So therefore, we read it with so much interest. And when we came to that last chapter, we said, "Oh, if this was to be there, why should we bother about that?" So that is one thing. But the fact of the matter is that yes, there are places, there are things you have to do networking. You have to go to. Nowadays it has become easy. You open a LinkedIn and go through just put a hashtag investor and post something, then you will be able to get a whole lot of people there. But then life has also become very tricky. Please understand that. There are less investors and more people who will help you with investors, but then they will charge you because they have also opened a startup. So therefore, that is one very thing which you have to be careful about. Some are good, some are helpful, some do deliver results. So therefore, it is all depending on that. Otherwise, you have these investor meetups, roundtables, and one-on-one interactions. Some of them are paid, some of them are unpaid. So depending upon your ability to spend, you should be able to go there and do it. Most of these incubators who have come in now with a lot of government grants, and government is doing fantastically a good job trying to pour in thousands of crores in deep science, deep tech, and all. While I'm not so much sure about this, but then you will definitely find a lot of people who will be there in the other sectors and segments. But then that area is also competitive. I'm sure you also will have some product which will be catching the attention of the people.
Right. There is one question from Anuj Singh Bandari. He is asking how to tackle if we not get investment. Is it necessary to take investment if unable to understand the person?
Well, that's a very good point you have made, Anuj Bhandari. It is basically the alignment of the founder of the investors. Founder investor alignment is very, very important. Right. I know of a case wherein a person was struggling quite a lot. Then he found a founder and found an investor. And but then the investor said that you will have to do what I say, and you will have to do the marketing, etc., like this, like this. Whereas the founder said that I know you don't know anything about what my product is. So if you come with your money, I only need your money. I don't need your advice. Now, this is a very tricky thing for the investor as well as for the founder. The investor can walk away, the founder can walk away. What happens in such a situation is entirely prone to a debate and a real life situation like this. So if you find that somewhere you are not in comfortable with the investor, because most importantly, sometimes you may have to do a due diligence on the investor, like what I said, you have to go through. The source of fund is very important. And if you are having some doubts on the source of fund, then you will have to look at it. Many people may come and perhaps say that, okay, I will give you so much, etc. It's there in the suitcase. Please take it and do it. Well, that's a different skill altogether. That's a different story altogether. But it's essential for you to understand. But it's also essential for you to understand the investor, what is his one, risk appetite, and number two, how much time does he have, or how much patience he has to grow. There are some people who will say that, okay, give me, they will disguise investment in the form of a debt. They say every month you give me this much and I'm willing to wait anytime. But then that's a debt, because he can always call on the debt and ask you to pay. So therefore you have to be careful there. Some of the investors will say that, okay, I want within 1 year, I want so much returns. Now you got to understand, and if you are confident, then you go ahead. If you are not, then don't risk yourself. There are ample number of people who have a vision, who have money, who are able to take bets on people, and that's how they have also become what they have become.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you
We
so
have another
much.
one where means I'll pick the one which is more related to the subject today. It's from again Anuj. I'll skip you and then I'll come back if we are done with the other questions. For Sachin, can the same story work for all the investors and in all situations? Of course not. So how do we create different versions, or will it not become boring if we just have the one which is good for everyone?
You're very right. In fact, my second last slide was that your 90-day action plan. If you just go and say that, okay, this is what it is, I've heard, now I'll try to do this thing. So therefore, go rewrite your story. Number one, rewrite your story, bringing all the elements. Then the important thing is that you will have different types of investors in these. You have family offices, you have HNIs, you have VCs, you have angels, and you have PEs and all. Of course, the PEs will not be in the early stage and so on. So you've got these four different types. One is the HNI is purely an individual. So there you have to impress upon him a few things. First impression is about yourself, right? He has to know that you come from a very trusted, credible source of background, right? So that once it is done, then now that can happen only through a warm introduction of his friend or his brother or his uncle or something like that, right? I raised $600,000 just with after struggling for 1 year, just by talking to my neighbor who was listening to me all the time, right? And then it just in one of the session, he just said, "Hey, why can't you talk to my nephew?" Right? And we just went on. He was in US, so the time was good. So we just called, and then he heard the story. Within 25 to 30 minutes, $600,000 came, and I was struggling for that for almost maybe 1.5 years or so. And that created such an impact that we started the manufacturing and all those things. So therefore, you have to have a different story for that. If you go through the family offices, right? The family offices would be receptive because now they have also changed their investment thesis and other things and so on, the way they want to invest. So they all are willing to take some risk themselves and so on. Right. So therefore, your pitch to them would be going through the lines, because these are the family offices, means those who are like the Tata Birla or the Adani Ambani, who have built businesses and now they are apportioned a portion of their wealth to helping the startup ecosystem, or trying to look at what may happen in the future in the new industry, new age industry. So for them, you will have to go through different, because they have seen everything. For them, your unit economics don't work. For them, your thing. It is more the emotional appeal. It is more the appeal, which is the product and the solution which is solving. If it hits their mind, then you're done. So there you don't have to give too much data, too much this thing, 15-page deck, nothing like that. It is pure conversation one-on-one. If you go to the VC and the angels and this thing, angels and VC, you will have to go through the first gatekeeper, who is uh, the MBA finance guy, or the CFA or CA or something like that. Now they will ask you more questions. So therefore, you will have to be very thorough with what you are talking about in terms of the market research, because they are more tuned to listening to percentages, how much percentage you will do, how much is thing, etc. So therefore, your product has to be more, your presentation has to be more in line with the business aspect of it. So different investors will have different. So you have to do a thorough study before going and talking to any investor. What is it? Who the persons are and who this thing. Like I earlier, I used to just the moment screen starts, I would speak and start saying that I am Venkatesh, I am this thing, this is a product, that is a product, etc., etc. Now, after learning over a period of time, I first asked the background. I said, please introduce yourself and see. I have found in many of the cases, they said that, no, our introduction is not needed. You must have read it and so on. I said, thank you very much. I am not interested in presenting. So you should know when to walk away also, because that also gives a thing that you are not jumping into the pool right away. You are not doing just a tick box type of brand. So feel happy that I have presented for 10 people or 10 minutes or something like that. And then you keep on waiting endlessly without knowing what demand. So ask them whether you are into medical devices, whether my product is medical device. Are you into medical device? This is specifically for my this thing, right? Are you interested in healthcare? Second, what is your ticket size? Third, what is your waiting? And then, do you have any doctor or an expert on your board who is advising you? They ask, one person asked, are you taking our interview, or you are investing in our company, or I am investing? You have to go through that. Yes, because they also are in the evolution phase. Let's understand that. Nobody is a god or a full-fledged thing. So let's treat each one with mutual respect, and you will be able to achieve your goal.
Sorry, just a minute. I was on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is one question which says that how do we resolve valuation issue? Should we discuss across the table?
Valuation is always a discussion across the board. It all depends upon how much the investor finds value in your company, your product, and at what phase and stage of the product life cycle or company life cycle you are. If you are in a phase wherein you just need something very urgently, then you can always dip on your valuation. But then in the initial phases, I hope a lot of young founders are there. In the initial phases, don't stress too much on valuation, right? Ensure that you are able to get the product right. You have the product right, then you work on that. Because I have come across many people, because many advice come that don't dilute so much in the initial phase, because when you go to IPO, you will be in trouble. Arey Baba, first you get some paying customers, and then only your product will go up to stage 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, number one. If you are very strong and you are built a product, customers are there sitting across, eating out of your hands, etc., then you can command your valuation. But I find that will rarely happen, because if that is the situation, then you would have bootstrapped yourself to such a manner that people will be able to get behind you and so on. So don't stress too much about valuation. Sit in front of the people and agree to an acceptable thing. There will be some people, maybe there will be some sharks who will say that, not the Shark Tank guys, though they could also be, that they will say this, that, etc. I will give you this much, give me 20% of your company, 50%, etc. Then you will have to see what it is, right? Otherwise, fairly, most of the investors who are there, they would be happy to grow along with you, because they also make money once they know that you have got sufficient stakes with you in the subsequent rounds when the business starts growing, and they will also make money when the round makes a higher trajectory in Series A, Series B, Series C, etc.
Right. There is one question: what is the best exit strategy?
Mm. Depends, one, on your age and how much appetite you have to do whatever you are doing, and whether your product will be, or your company will be going to what phase and stage of the exits. One common exit strategy everybody has or everybody thinks is, let me go to do an IPO. So now that is everybody's dream, right? Which is fine, right? The other aspect of that is what is your need, and whether you have and whether you are fully going to run the entire course of the journey. If you are getting invested by somebody, then obviously your investor, if he is a VC or a P or an angel, they will exit within the time frame of their fund life. So they will exit and you see the valuation of that, and if that is sufficient, and if you have something additional to do, or because a side cake where you can do with that money which you have done some more, if you are that type, then good. My own personal exit strategy is that, okay, I am right now 64. So in another 5 to 6 years, I would like to be on the board, exit with the majority of my stakes, and then be on the board, give gyan, give knowledge. If they listen, if they don't listen, just say thank you, keep getting dividends, and be done with it.
Right. There is one question: how to take the criticism from investor positively when the response is quite under the belt?
Yeah, unless you have an Ashnir grower sitting in front of you, I'm sure most of the investors are well-mannered, and they will just. Your issue should not be of being criticized, right? Because criticism is a way of life, and criticism is always welcome. Unless someone is criticizing you for your color, height, weight, language, and all those things, then that's a different issue, right? But the community which you are going to face and you are going to speak to and all those things, they will not indulge in that sort of thing. But yes, if you, in the course of discussion, it will happen that the most of the times the founders, they go overboard and they start believing that whatever they have said is gospel truth, and whatever that person is saying is not correct. And then they try to justify, and instead of having a humility, they go into arrogance phase. Now that is when a lot of such criticisms will start. So now it's a personality factor. Now it's a question of situation on the ground at that point of time. Otherwise, if someone is criticizing your product and saying your product will not do this, I know this industry, this is what happens, and if they are able to give you valid justification, which most of the time they will not. They will quietly say, okay, I will go back to the team, we'll discuss internally, come back to you, so on and so forth, and they will never come back to you, right? So anyone who has criticized you or who has raised some critique of you, be very happy and latch on to him, because I'm sure he will be the one who will show you or open a lot of doors for you.
Right. There is one interesting question. What should be the SWOT study while speaking to VCs? How do storytelling techniques differ when pitching to VCs versus angel investors or government grant evaluators? And there is one linked question to it, that how do we integrate ESG or sustainability narratives into startup pitches?
Well, I will address the first question. The second part, I have not, and I'm not a big fan of trying to put those things into it to make it fanciful. So as I told you that there are different types of investors who will be there, and there will be the HNI investor. I told you an example of the neighbor's nephew, and so for him the pitch deck was different, pitch was different, story was different. Then I attended a lot of one family officers meet and met three big family guys. Uh, One of them happened to be in Dubai. And the story in Dubai is entirely different. Uh, I learned the hard way. I thought that India is always top in tech, this thing, etc., etc. But then in Dubai, the story works differently. The emphasis is more on what I spoke, all those things, emotions, rationals, relationships, and all those things, etc. That works fantastically in the UAE market among those investors. And then the other family investors, the person just said that, okay, you tell me when you are going to do what, when you are going to give. Now, to that, you got to be prepared with your product as to what is it going to do. Because if you are also in the phase of discovering your product, your journey, and this thing, then you may have a different story to tell, and maybe that person's patience or impatience may wear on you. So you will have to actually weigh this because there is no formula for that. For the VCs and all, I told you that the first gatekeeper is the young, brilliant IIT or IM guy. So you have to know, I'm sure you must have seen a lot of nerds in your college days, and you must have seen a lot of smart guys in your college days who, when you ask them, how are you, they will say better than you. And so therefore you must be able to handle those type of people. But handling with respect, everybody does that, so that's not a issue.
Right. There is one question from Ajay Alankar. He says, in an early stage startup pitch, what carries more weight with investors? A strong storytelling narrative that highlights vision and problem solving, or early traction metrics that prove market validation?
Can I get the question again?
Yeah. So the question is, in the early stage startup pitch, what carries more weightage for investors? A strong storytelling narrative that highlights vision and problem solving, or early traction metrics that proves market validation?
If you have early traction and proven market validation, don't get into any story or anything. Just tell that I have got this I am solving this problem. This problem is with so many people, and I have this solution. This solution does this. One slide, that's it. And then say I have met 100 I have 100 paying customers, or 1,000 paying customer, or 10,000, whatever it is, etc. And they are paying me again and again. If you do that, that is one. If it is a one time, then it is one story. If it is multiple times, they have come back, repeat purchase, other thing. So your product validation, your startup validation, business validation comes from the fact of your customers and paying customers for that matter. If that happens, nothing like it. You don't have to go through any of the stories. That's my strong belief. But yes, it does help to tell a story because at the end of the story, you anyway have caught the person, so you can satisfy yourself for all the work which you must have done.
Right. There is one question. What are the common red flags in pitch storytelling that investors see as manipulative or unrealistic?
Yeah. Trying to give a fantastic TAM sum, and then your expectations being saying that, okay, in this 1,000 crore market or 10,000 crore market, I am going to take 10% of the market share within 6 months, and so on and so forth. So the investors see through it very easily. So therefore, and another thing is the 5-year plan, which most people put on the slide or Excel sheet and so on, saying that first year there this thing is 100 rupees, second year it is jumps to 200, then third year 500, then 1,000, 500, 2,000. They also say that's not going to happen. What they are then looking at is how are you going to control the costs? How are your costs moving? So if your costs are moving in tandem with your business, then you are down. then you are out. They see that, okay, you don't know how to manage, right? So one very simple, easy way of how people do this Excel sheet thing is that, okay, they say that, okay, in the first year, so many percent, 10% marketing, 10% this thing, 20% manpower, and this one. And then they extrapolate it to 10,000 and 1,000 crores or 2,000 crores, etc. It doesn't happen. Your business grows 10 times, but your salary does not grow 10 times. Your rents don't grow 10 times. Electricity doesn't grow 10 times. So all the marketing, you don't have to put 10% of 1,000 crore. No, that's not required. So therefore, you got to be very clear and you have to be there. And if the person sees that you have just done an Excel calculation, formula based calculation, then they will say that, okay, ठीक है. But if your product is very compelling and if this thing, then they will ask you to go back and work on those metrics and say that they will point out this, etc., if it is so. So from that perspective, these in your pitch, overemphasis and overemphasizing, giving wrong information, or telling that you about, let's say, you must have met somebody in the corridor, some minister in the function, and taken a selfie with him. If you say that he is interested in my product and he will give me a government contract of 500 crores, then they will immediately try to understand what it is and so on and so forth. Right. So therefore, you have to have proof of validation before you go and talk about those sort of things. So, so very common. Truth, nothing beats honesty, transparency. Nothing beats that. If you are truthful, honest in this thing, I understand a little bit of flowery language and I understand those things. But then what I said, credibility, test, check, and all those things, which is there, that has to be coming out very strongly, right? If at the end of the day, you must understand that while business is one, everybody understands that business may succeed and business most of the times may fail. They are okay with that, right? But the fact is that why you are failing is important. How you are failing is important. If you are failing by getting a let's say a 5 crore like I will give you a very interesting anecdote which happened with me. So someone wanted to buy someone wanted $1 million thing fundraise, that is 7 crores, right? One investor said that okay, I can give you 1 crore now and then 1 crore something like that. He put some this thing. Then later on, he said, okay, now this is strongly a marketing deal. The person asked, okay, tell me, what will you do with this 1 crore? How will you go in this one? The person got carried away, right? And the person said that I will buy a Mercedes. And then the investor said, why you must? He says, she said that I have to go and meet a lot of CEOs, CXOs, and heads of this, that, etc., to get business. So I cannot go in a taxi or some Maruti car or Santro or something like that, right? So I would have to go in a Mercedes. Now, then that is when the answer to Anuj, this thing came in, wherein the person said that became a little bit critical. Is it that which CEO in which big company will come to see whether you are coming in a Mercedes or you're staying? Because my office is on the 10th floor and you have to pass at least 4 gates before you are allowed in. So where is the question of anybody coming to know that you are coming in a Mercedes or anything? Unless you put a chest on your this thing or flash the key saying that I came in Mercedes to meet you and etc., etc. So these are the things which one has to be a little bit careful.
One question, just out of curiosity, that what is the maximum percentage of the total equity one in business should one look at diluting to get an external investor to invest in business?
Well, that purely depends upon what type of investor and how much you are raising and what valuation you are doing it. Suffice it to say that if you are in an MVP stage and you have to go to market, so then you anywhere in, or rather, let's look at the first round of. So if you are bootstrapped or you have got grants, you have built the products, etc., and now you want to really get those prototypes out into the market and start going to this, where your spend is going to be high, and that is very, very critical for you. And if you know that within 1 crore I can build some uh, 10, 20 equipments. I'm talking just this thing, 10, 20 equipments, which will give you some 40, 50 lakh rupees or so. Then, and they are very important and critical for your future success, because everything depends on that. So then one can go even up to diluting it for up to 10% in the initial phase for a crore, crore and a half, or 2 crores, like that. Because then you will have 50, 60 lakhs for the product. You will have another 40, 50 lakhs for your marketing, or 1 crore for marketing. And then you'll have another 40, 50 lakhs for your runway of 1 year, wherein then you can start looking at alternate avenues of debt, OD and all those facilities, because then you will get it. So then your company will keep running. So that's why I said initially one should not stress too much about not diluting a percentage. It depends purely on what you require. But yes, some people will say, give me 90% of company or 80% of the company. Then actually they are not going to put even 1 rupee in your company.
Right, right.
And I'm not exaggerating. Someone asked me 80% of my company.
Yeah, there is one question, last question, where person has Shipra Rungta has asked, Sir, can you please share examples where storytelling changed the investor perception, even when metrics were moderate?
Well, I have not come across that situation wherein just by storytelling and with a moderate this thing, anybody will put in. But yes, I can give you some thoughts or this thing into it, that see, but then that is not what we are actually talking about. Then that is your luck, right? I have known people who have raised funds for uh, companies. Yeah, but why not? I think there are a lot of such examples wherein people have raised funds for companies which have not had any visibility of profit or anything. They have earned billions of rupees from the market, and they have just written off quite a lot. And if you go through, like I remember Sequoia lost quite a lot of money in one of the things. But then it will be difficult to actually quantify in an open forum on that, because I am not that great a person who will be wanting to comment on this thing, because internally everyone has their own challenges and everyone does with a good faith. But if over a period of time their good faith turns into either a greed or incompetence or overconfidence or something, then it leads to this one. But if you have but I will never ever be able to say that a great pitch deck will get for a moderate product any big investment, because even in the investment phase, you will have to go to 2, 3, 4 rounds, do a due diligence round, and due diligence is the last toughest round into it. But a great story, yes, with a moderate thing with your friends and families, it will work very well. If you are able to do that, you will get it. HNIs, probably you may get it, right? And someone very wealthy and you are asking just 1 crore or 50 lakhs or 25 lakhs, you will, out of your background, out of your network, who has introduced you, they will say, "ठीक है यार, चलो bet ले लेते." But an astute angel and VC, they will never hazard that thing. Family offices, yes, it's again, because then that is more human connection rather than business connection. And that's what I told you earlier.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for answering the questions patiently.
Oh, that was really fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In fact, if we had started with these question answers only, then perhaps all the things I would have brought it out and
Yeah.
it would have taken nothing. But then anyway, it was a good stepping stone thing. I
Yeah,
just
right.
saw one comment here saying that they were not able to hear. She was not able to hear
That was in the beginning
audio.
that the audio was not on from the other
Yeah,
side, but
CA
in the
Rajni.
beginning,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. So that is there. Uh,
Yeah.
I see one hand raised, Ayush. Let's
Okay. Let me just bring
Krishna.
up.
If your
Yeah.
question is already
Krishna
asked,
Rao.
yeah.
Just a minute.
Just the last one, Venkatesh sir.
Yeah, take your time. You are told up to 6, so I just.
Go ahead. Please unmute yourself, Krishna Rao, and ask your question. Let's keep it brief.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sir, I just wanted to know what are the terms on which to be firm and what are the terms to be quite negotiable with the investors? Where to be firm and where to be negotiable when trying to.
Okay. Since it's a generic question, I can give a generic answer. But if you want to have any specific thing in somewhere which is
Regarding
non-confidential, you can just put 1 or 2 points. So I'll be able to see what direction you are leading us to.
like dilution of management control, who should
Yeah.
be on the board. So these are the
Yeah, I got it. I thought so. So normally it depends on let's say a board seat will normally depend upon the quantum of investment someone brings and the dilution which you would have made. So and then if you are saying that you want to make a 5 member board, and then if you are holding 100% first, or if your co-founders are holding altogether 100%, maybe if you two of you are holding 50-50 and or 3 of you are holding 30-30, etc., like that. So then your board comprises of 5 members. Some of you can go to 7. That all depends, right? Now, in that, if the quantum of money which someone is putting, and if the person is a strategic investor, uh, means he knows the industry which you are talking. He has a background of it. He has invested in multiple of such things and so on, right? So giving him a board seat and taking him as your mentor is absolutely the thing which you should jump at, right? So many people, for example, I have put in advisory board members from top multinational companies and given them equity without any money, primarily because of the value they bring in terms of the banner they represent, experience they have, and what they can do to my company if I am stuck somewhere, etc. So that is one. The second one, the way in which, for example, my own case, when I normally mentor startups only in healthcare, and I take a equity stake for the quantum of work which I am able to contribute. So from that perspective, now I have a fixed percentage which is small or which is this thing, but like someone who was there, that the person was someone misguided, saying that you should not dilute more than not dilute more, only 90% you should keep, 90% you should keep, 10% you should dilute for the money, this, that, and all. And the company was doing 1 crore of rupees revenue. The person wanted to ask a valuation of 120 crores. Now, who will give you? That's one. Right. So therefore, from that perspective, that person could not get anybody on the board. And so therefore, the person is still struggling. And afterwards, somebody do come back and say that, okay, I'm willing to negotiate and this thing. But then you would have lost the bus. But then the other person will be at the respect. So you have to be, when I say firm, you got to be very clear as to certain things. Like if you know the business more than the investor, you should say business decisions are mine. And most of the people, they do. Most of the people, investors don't want to come on board also. They just want to be observers on the board. And so they are okay with that, right? So from that angle, you are saved or you are better off in that sense, right? So it's basically your comfort level with the investor. So if you are, it's like a marriage. So till such time you see, then it works quite fine.
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. With this, I would just invite Ayush for delivering the vote of thanks and take this to a conclusion.
Thanks, Nikhil. Thank you so much, sir, for your exciting presentation and insightful session. As we wrap up this inspiring masterclass on pitchcraft and storytelling, I extend my heartfelt gratitude on behalf of the NEXTLEAP 2025, an initiative by ICAI Singapore Chapter in collaboration with BeyondSeed, under the aegis of the Committee on MSME and Startups of ICAI. A special thank you to you, sir, for delivering such an engaging session. Your guidance illuminated how pitchcraft and storytelling are not just presentation tools, they are strategic assets for startups. In the world where ideas compete for attention, the ability to craft a compelling narrative can be the difference between being heard and being overlooked. We also thank BeyondSeed for their support and the Committee on MSME and Startup of ICAI for constant guidance and encouragement, and CPA Australia for being our valued sponsor and partner in this initiative. To all attendees, thank you for making today's session a resounding success. May the stories we shape and the pitches we refine lead to ventures that inspire, connect, and thrive. Before we close, a quick reminder, our next masterclass is on November 6th on investment readiness, another interesting session. We look forward to your participation and another insightful evening together. Thank you once again to all and for joining us today. Have a great evening ahead and see you on November 6th. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ayush. Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. And thanks a lot. Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you, Ayush. Thank you, Anuradha. It was really nice knowing you guys.
Thank you. It was fantastic.
Yeah, sure. So I sign off.
Yeah, sure.